Sometimes the silence between two people says more than any confession ever could. Sometimes what we see, what we shouldn't see, changes the course of everything, not because of what happened, but because of what we began to feel after. Welcome to Silent Psychology. Part 1. The day that wasn't supposed to matter. It started like any other unremarkable day. A Tuesday, I think. One of those grey, smudged sky afternoons that slip through your memory like water through fingers. Nothing about it should have been significant. But that's the thing about fate. It never rings the doorbell. It just walks in and changes everything. The wind rustled through the skeletal trees outside my window. The sky threatened rain, but not enough to do anything about it, just heavy with the kind of clouds that loom and linger. I remember watching the branches sway in silence, lost in their rhythm, and thinking to myself, another quiet day. The house groaned under the weight of its own age, an old place full of charm and decay. That creak in the floorboard near the hallway, I'd heard it 1,000 times, but that day it sounded different. I wasn't expecting anything, I wasn't looking for anything, but some part of me, something old, instinctual, felt the shift. That subtle change in atmosphere, like static before a storm. You can't see it, but you can feel it under your skin. That's when I noticed Ethan's door, just barely ajar. Not unusual, of course. He often left it open like that, a harmless habit. But this time, the air felt heavy, still, like the entire house was holding its breath. I took a step forward, then another. Each one felt louder than it should have in the quiet. My fingers brushed the banister, gripping it harder than I needed to, like I was anchoring myself in reality. And then, the door creaked. Such a small sound, barely audible, but it struck me like a bell. A sound that didn't belong in the silence, a sound that said, something is happening. I peeked in, and there he was. Part 2. The moment that shouldn't have happened, Ethan was sitting at the edge of his bed, hunched slightly forward. The blue glow of his laptop screen painted flickering shadows across his face. At first glance, it looked innocent enough. Maybe he was watching a thriller, maybe gaming or browsing memes. But then I moved slightly. The angle shifted. I saw the screen, not directly, but in the reflection on the closet mirror. A flash of movement, not the kind that belongs to video games. And in that moment, I knew. I didn't see it clearly. I didn't need to. The mind is cruel in the way it fills in gaps with certainty. The image, distorted in the glass, told me everything. The shock hit like plunging into ice water. My breath caught in my throat, my body rooted in place. I didn't know what to do, what to say. I could have turned away, pretended I hadn't seen, given him the dignity of unawareness, but I didn't move. I stood there, paralyzed, not by voyeurism, not by curiosity, but by the violent collision of emotion, shock and shame. And then he looked up. Our eyes met. Time didn't slow. It stopped. A cold silence passed between us. Not the kind that lingers in empty rooms, but the kind that screams louder than words. He scrambled, slamming the laptop shut with a thud. His face turned a shade of red I'd never seen before. I didn't mean, I thought the door was closed, he stammered, his voice barely coherent. His panic was raw, no bravado, no excuses. Just a young man, 23, not a child, not quite fully grown either, caught in something shameful, caught in something human. And me, Olivia, 47th, divorced, scarred in places no one sees, weathered by decades of silence, struggle, survival. I wanted to say something, anything, but my lips betrayed me. I shook my head, slowly, backed out, closed the door behind me, and ran. Part 3. The spiral of thought that followed. I fled to the kitchen, or maybe I was just retreating into the last space where the world still made sense. My hands gripped the sink like it could keep me grounded. What just happened? Over and over. The question kept repeating, but the answer never came. My mind twisted the moment until it lost shape. Why didn't I knock? Why didn't he lock the door? Why was I still thinking about it? And then came the most disturbing realization of all. There was something else beneath the shock, a flicker of warmth. Not desire, no, not yet, but something charged, something forbidden, something dangerous. And that terrified me more than anything. Part 4. The silence between us. The days that followed were a quiet war. We moved around each other like ghosts, sharing the same house, the same meals, but none of the same words. We spoke only what was essential. Pass the salt. Can you take out the trash? But our eyes never met. Our voices were low. The air between us was thick with what had been seen but never spoken. Until that night. Dinner was nearly over. The clink of my fork against the plate echoed like a gunshot in the silence. And then, "Olivia," he said, barely a whisper. I froze. "About the other day. I didn't mean for that to happen. You weren't supposed to see. I'm sorry. I hope this doesn't change how you see me. Please, don't let it ruin us." There was no arrogance in his voice, no manipulation, just fear, vulnerability, honesty. I breathed slowly, searching for the words I didn't know I had. "Ethan," I said quietly, "trust me, I've been through worse. We've all had our moments." A flicker of a smile tugged at his mouth, faint, uncertain, but there. The wall between us cracked, just a little. Enough for light to leak in. I even told him a story, something humiliating from my 20s, a memory I usually buried. As I spoke, he laughed. A real, open laugh. The first I'd heard in days, and in that moment, the ground beneath us shifted. Part 5. The line that shouldn't be crossed. He looked at me differently after that. I could feel it, see it in his eyes, less like a roommate, more like something else. Then he said something. "I guess we're even now." I tilted my head. "Even?" His smile disappeared. His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. He looked away, then forced himself to look back. "I've seen you too, a few times, not on purpose, at first, but then I didn't look away." My blood ran cold. The room seemed to shrink. He'd seen me, not just once, not just accidentally, and he hadn't looked away, and I should have been furious, but I wasn't. My heart pounded, not from fear, but from something else, something I didn't want to name, something I wasn't ready to understand. Was this the beginning of a descent, or was it just the unraveling of two people who had been lonely for far too long? Part 6. The truth that broke me. This isn't a story with a clean ending. There was no confrontation, no explosion, no clear right or wrong. There was only silence, and what bloomed within it. You don't always see the turning point as it happens. Sometimes you only realize later, when everything around you looks different, that you crossed a line you didn't mean to. When I told him to stay, I thought I meant emotionally, that I didn't want things to be awkward, that I didn't want distance to grow between us. But maybe, just maybe, part of me wanted him to stay for reasons I couldn't admit. And what happened next? It didn't just break me, it made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. Outro. Calm, reflective, thoughtful. Sometimes what breaks us isn't what we see, but what we feel afterward. Sometimes the most dangerous truths are not spoken aloud, but silently understood. Thank you for watching Silent Psychology. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to reflect before you react. And remember, not all silence is empty.